Hello. What you doing? You want me to do another story? Okay, I can do that just for you. Because I love you. But first, coffee. I'm serious, coffee is like 100 times better when you make it in a French press. And you will not change my mind. And black. I like my bean water black. That's delicious. Well, hello, welcome back. If you're back again, thank you so much. I appreciate you. If you're new, welcome. Here we like true crime, we like horror history, and we like makeup. If you love either of those things, please subscribe to my channel, like this video, share it, comment on it, whatever you want to do. So you say you want another story, right? I'll do it just for you. But first, if you haven't done so, please follow me on Instagram and other social medias that I'll have linked down below. Everything that I'm using, I will have linked down below if you're wondering. This like random thing, really random. For the past 2 days, I have been obsessed. Well, I wouldn't say obsessed, but really like interested. Out of nowhere, like my YouTube just like recommended the randomest freaking video. And I'm just like going down a rabbit hole. What video, you ask? Hoof cleaning, hoof trimming. Yeah, I'm almost an expert at trimming cow hoofs. And I don't even have a cow. Let me pause this and I'll do my eyebrows really quick and then I'll come back. Because I can't do my eyebrows and talk at the same time. Okay, I'm back. Alrighty, well, in my last video, I told you that today's video was going to be connected, and if you haven't seen that video yet, you should go watch it. It'll make more sense. Another thing about this story, I dug and dug and dug and dug and dug. And the information that I was able to get was very limited. There was just not much of before and after. Well, before. So when Christy Strack was around 8 years old in 1984, the Lafferty Brothers committed the murders that they committed from my last video. And in 2003, an author by the name of John Crocker, he wrote a book detailing these gruesome murders. Now, Christy Strack got a hold of this book in or around that time, and I'm pretty sure she was married to Benjamin Strack at this point. So she got her hands on this book and read it, and she became obsessed with this case and with the Lafferty brothers. So what she did was she contacted Rebecca, who's Dan's daughter, and they were able to like build this friendship, like a really, really strong friendship, which led to Christy then meeting Dan in person. She would start visiting him in prison pretty often. And if you remember from my last story, Dan Lafferty himself, he viewed himself as Elijah. Like his existence meant that Jesus was coming. And by 2008, Christy and Benjamin Strack, they had 3 kids. Christy had an older son from a previous relationship or marriage, I'm not sure. So now they had 4 kids. And at around 2008, Christy and Ben got in trouble, both for drug possession and for, I believe that Christy tried getting her brother into the prison to meet Dan. But the way she tried doing it was that she signed his name as Benjamin's, and they were caught, and I think she was charged with like forgery, something like that. On top of this, they were dealing with some like financial hardships as well. So Christy was then like the state kind of forced her into a treatment, and she was prescribed methadone to help with her heroin addiction. So now during their visits with Dan, I'm not exactly sure what they talked about, but it is believed that Christy was like pretty much in love with Dan. And Dan signed his body off to go to the Strack family like after his death. So if you can imagine, they were pretty close. Oh yeah, and so after 2008, when this all of these like problems happened with them, they were banned from seeing Dan in person. Like they were not able to go visit him into the prison anymore. So they started writing letters back and forth. Friends and family of Benjamin and Christy, they would say that they started kind of like withdrawing from family and friends as well. They just kind of kept to themselves for the most part. They were very paranoid, and they very often talked about the impending apocalypse that they were like really afraid of. But as a family, like Ben and Christy with their kids, they were amazing parents. They were very involved, very affectionate, and like caring towards them. It is believed that the state never got involved when they were charged with drug possession, because I don't think they always do. Like Christy was in treatment, I think, and that might have helped. But yes, they were like really good parents, and they absolutely loved their kids. So they often talked about, you know, this impending apocalypse, and they were very afraid of that it was like gonna happen pretty soon. You know, when you look at religious texts, you often, very often find like texts about an apocalypse that's coming, and it's a lot of times taken out of context. And I think it's kind of what happened with them, you know, with Dan's ideology, seeing himself as like the prophet Elijah or whatever, disciple. So Christy and Ben would very often talk of wanting to leave this life. Now when friends and family would hear them say this, they thought that they meant that they wanted to like move out into a secluded area and live off the grid, because they were very paranoid. And this is just what they thought. On September 27, 2014, Christy's oldest son was 18 at this time. His name is Jansen McGee. So this is what I mean when I tell you that like I couldn't find a lot of the stories said different things. Now one story said that Jansen and his girlfriend were living with Christy and Ben at their home, and that I think Jansen was at work on this day, that he went to work early in the morning, and they last saw Christy, or that Jansen's girlfriend saw Christy last at around like 7 a.m. And another story said that Jansen was living with his grandma. So I'm not really sure which one it was, but either way, Jansen went home to Christy and Ben, and he noticed that it was very quiet. So he was looking for them, and he went to their bedroom, and the door was locked. And he started knocking, and nobody would answer. So he called his grandma. Her and I think her friend, because her friend is the one that called the police, her and her friend came over to help Jansen. And when they kind of kicked the door down, they found the entire Strack family deceased, laying down like on the bed, and around the bed. The way they were kind of like laying, they were almost like posed, like somebody had posed them after, you know, they died. All the kids and Christy were laying on or around, no, Christy was laying on the bed. Benson, who was 14, was laying in between, was laying on the bed as well. And the other kids were, I think, laying around the bed. Shit. Around the bed. And they were all covered up to their neck with a blanket. Now, next to each of them, there was like a cup of some red fluid, some red liquid. Almost like a, I'm assuming it kind of looked like fruit punch, possibly. So they start freaking out, and Jansen's grandma, her friend, calls the police, and in the 911 call, you can hear them like screaming in the background, just obviously losing it, because this is a pretty horrific thing to like find out of nowhere. So when the police got there, they got there at around, so when Jansen got there, it was around 7, and the police started their investigation around like 10 or 11, I believe. They initially thought that it might have been like some carbon monoxide poisoning, but they were unable to find like any traces of any carbon monoxide in the home. Like, oh, there's a little spider right there. What do I do? Oh shit, where did it go? What was I saying? Yes, there was no signs of any like carbon monoxide inside the home. And obviously took the bodies for an autopsy, and they were looking around the home, and there was like no sign of struggle. There was no signs of any type of struggle, like in the home or with the bodies. They were able to find like a to-do list that they had left, and it seemed pretty normal. It was it had like find somebody to feed the cats, the animals, and somebody to watch the house. Like it really sounded like they were just kind of going on a small trip somewhere, you know? Another thing they found was a note that Benson had written to his best friend. And it was basically like leaving all of his belongings to this friend of his. Almost like he knew that something was gonna happen to him and he was gonna be found dead. In the home, or in the trash cans outside of the house, they found like empty boxes of nighttime medicine, like NyQuil, something like that, like cough medicine, nighttime cough medicine, and like Tylenol, just like a bunch of empty boxes of this medicine. So another thing they found in the home, like one of those sand buckets that kids take to the beach for sand, they found one of those like behind the door, I believe, and it was full of this like purple liquid stuff, like a mixture of something. So it took about around a month for the autopsy reports to like come back, and they found that in all of their systems were extremely toxic levels of like everything that's in these medicines, along with methadone. And the methadone is what had been prescribed to Christy, you know, for the previous years. All of the kids had extremely high amounts of these chemicals in their bodies, and so did Christy, except Benjamin, who had deadly levels of heroin in his system. In the end, they ended up being ruled as suicides. Christy and Benjamin's cause of death was ruled to be a suicide. For the kids, they were ruled as homicides. Well, for the two younger ones, who are Emery, who was 12 years old, and Zion, who was 11 years old, they were seen as too young to like consent to obviously going through with this plan. Benson was 14 years old. They didn't know whether he was able to consent to this or not, so his death was ruled as undetermined. Now the family, they would say after all of this had happened that looking back at like the way they were behaving, you know, for the short while before this happened, that there was a lot of signs there, you know, telling them that this was possible. But of course, they're not like professionals or anything. They don't know what to look for. So they did feel extremely guilty that they were not able to help them in time. And now, in the later years, when Dan found out that this had happened, at first he was saying how he was sad that the family had committed suicide and that he never spoke to them about any like apocalypse. But afterwards, he started taking like the credit for influencing them into doing this horrible thing. So in other words, Dan is a piece of shit. I hate that guy so much. And that is the sad case of the Strack family. The Strack family story is a very sad story which opens your eye to the actual effect and the extreme possibilities of mental health and, you know, like the worst outcome. So please, if you or anybody you know is dealing with any type of mental issues, hardships, please get help. It's okay. You deserve to get help. And you are brave and strong, and I admire you. On that note, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Share it. Why not? You're already there. You already might as well just keep the ball rolling. You know what I'm saying? Follow me on social media, so I'll have them linked down below. And now for my fellow witches, let's ride.